selfish position. I love this city. I love our community. I have always fought hard for the best interests of our entire community. And I believe that Fayetteville can still be a safeguard, allowing us to keep our community grounded, even as we watch the chaos that is unfolding nationally and elsewhere. We've made significant progress, as I said, over the last 8 years, but there's still more work to do. I'm continuing the journey because I have a plan and a vision that can continue to carry our city forward. A vision that includes continuing to create safe neighborhoods and opportunities, jobs that actually lift families out of the situations that they're in, avenues for small businesses to pursue their dreams, and pertinent investment into our city's infrastructure and our quality of life. And our home ownership program will be a game changer as it continues to help people acquire the greatest asset that many of us will ever have, is our home. And as we continue, this is about the kids of the future. As we continue to build on our great partnerships and bonds with our school system and with other members of our community that contribute to the well-being of our future generations. And I can assure you that I promise to give this next season of leadership the same tenacity that I've led with over the last 8 years, but with more wisdom, more prudence and pragmatism in the decisions that I make. And with this, I'm asking the citizens of Fayetteville to grant me another term so that we can continue to move our community forward. Thank you. With that, I'll take any questions that you all may have. And I would be remiss if I did not mention my beautiful wife that has joined me, Tamara. I thank her so much for her support, which was critical in making this decision, as well as my other family members, my children, who've been so supportive over the last 12 years of public service, over the last 8 years of mayor. My mother, my brother, and so many others in this community have helped me and been a great support system. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Mayor, spell your name for us.
Tamara.
And is Mayor Colvin, or you have
Colvin.
That's the only last name she needs, Paul.
When it comes to fading off to the sunset, you have your own personal business, you could have done that. Is there more that brought you back, that made you come back to want to do the job?
Well, you know, it was a tough decision to make initially, and you know, I thought and prayed long and hard about it. I talked to my family about it, and since I made that announcement over a month ago, you know, a number of factors have changed. I didn't know that Sheriff Wright, who retired just at the end of June, was retiring, so that'll be a major change in a significant part of our public safety. I knew that the school system was bringing in a new superintendent, which we just are entering the second year of a great partnership between the city and the schools for our resource officer program and our crossing guards. That's very essential. We know that we had leadership changes in our police department. We just swore in a new chief on Friday. And then we had 40% of our council members, incumbents, are running for the same position. So we will have a significant change in the face of our council. And I just believed that we needed some stability at the top on the leadership. And I'm the only one in this race so far that's ever done the job.
If there's one thing you want to see through, what would that be?
Well, there are multiple things. I think that we have to start to think holistically, that it's not about singular projects, but more about the vision and the direction. You know, I have been meeting with all of the stakeholders, to include the schools and the universities and the community colleges and the county, and we just need to build on that collaboration. And what I want to focus more on is continuing that spirit of partnership. The projects will come and go, but particularly, where do we want our city to be in the future, and who and how do we want it to work for everyone?
There are going to be more choices at the ballot box this year for citizens of Fayetteville. You have a track record. How do you still want to stand out among the pack as they go to the ballot box?
Well, I think with all the changes going on in Washington, we see the results of when all of the intellectual capital moves out at one time. It's kind of chaotic. Right now, we're reeling to try to understand what the impacts will be on the local level. You know, I've got relationships that I've built over the last 8 years as mayor in Washington and in Raleigh. And I would say that proven leadership. You know, I've got a track record, not just about plans or projections. This is about results, that if you've lived in our community over the last several years, you see that it's changing in a positive way. And I want to continue that. And I think that now more than ever, you know, on-the-job training and knowing what to do day one will be significant. And again, as I said, the only person in this race that will and have done the job for the last 8 years.
When you look at the overall people that are running, and obviously three, so that's going to open up 3 seats that could make or break what's going on. Somebody could come in with 4 new people really on the board. Was that your main main decision? And then what do you see that you need to continue to push forward with to continue on for the next 2 years?
Well, that's a great question. Again, as I said, things that have changed since I made the announcement. Yes, there were 2 incumbents running for the seat, but now you have 40% of a 10-member board running for 1 seat. So we know that it's impossible that all of those folks will remain, and that left open seats on this council. You know, we govern as a body. That's a significant change, and we see that. And this is in no way an opinion or an indictment on the county's board, but it had 3-member change, and it's moving in an entirely new direction on a lot of projects. And so we know that that's a possibility, but a 40% change plus all of the other district seats are contested. And so some of those things, a lot of that factored into my decision.
Was Courtney Banks McLaughlin's decision to switch to the mayor's race the tipping point for you?
It was a significant part. I don't want to single her out because everyone has a right to run for public office. And I'm encouraged by the fact that so many people are interested and want to do the job. But it did change the balance of what this board will look like and how it'll govern. As again, you have a lot of incumbents. That's a huge number of incumbents running for one position. And it did leave those other boards to be filled, those other districts to be covered by people who will have to find their way and understand what the job entails. And so that's a significant part. Not to mention, a lot of the other districts have a lot of candidates. And so at any given time, you don't know how the voters will decide who represents that. And so you need some continuity, and that was a key part to my decision. And I just thought that the times were so, there was so much at stake right now to remain on the sideline. And although I wanted to spend time with my beautiful wife and do some other things, I love this city and this community, and I want to see the best for it in the future.
Mayor, how do you talk you into to doing this?
Like he said, he loves his city, and we know that he is probably one of the most business astute gentlemen that I know that have the proven track record, and the proven track record have shown that he is fit for the job. And there is a lot at stake, and we want to make for sure that City of Fayetteville continues to move forward, and he's the right person for the job.
When you say there's a lot at stake, what specific, maybe 2 things, 3 things that are pending that is at stake that could change immediately?
Well, again, I pointed out, with a new sheriff, the county commissioners have that decision to make in the coming weeks. You have a new superintendent who will have his vision of how he wants to move the school system forward, which is a critical part to the community that we have. And the city plays a significant role. And so we'll have to have a board that has some background knowledge to what and why decisions were made, particularly in our resources. We have almost $2 billion worth of companies that have either committed or plan to commit to jobs and investment in this community, and they're going to want some stability on the local level. And then you have whatever's going on in D.C. We're all trying to figure that out. Grants and different resources that we've counted on are now being changed. That will trickle down to the state level, and then we'll have to make adjustments here. And so, you don't have a lot of time to do on-the-job training or to make certain decisions that are going to have lasting impacts for decades on this community.
So is there something that you have put into place, or the board has put into place up to this point, that as soon as they're elected, they can immediately reverse it or do something like that or change it? Is that a fact?
Oh, it's a fact, and it's also a factor because it's a possibility, right? That no one council can bind a future council on anything. And so I believe, as I said before, that the sheriff, the school board, and the city made a decision that we're going to cover and protect our children in school. That is one initiative that some council members, even some that are running for this position, didn't support. And so you could have a reversal in something like that. And there have been a tremendous amount of resources and planning put into moving an initiative like that forward, which is not a project specific, but it's a policy specific. There's the 911, joint 911 operations with the county. You know, we are in some very positive, I think, developments with bringing that online, something that has lingered for several years, that been unable to be done. And now the city and the county have more alignment than we've had in a number of years. And so it could be a reversal in the perspective there with a change in the board. So it's a number of things like that.
Is this, you think this will be your last term? Did you win?
Well, yeah, now you're trying to get me in trouble, Paul. Listen, right now my focus is to make the case that I'm the best candidate for the job right now. And so I never make a decision about future terms during my current one. You know, there was a wise man that was on council. We called him the dean, Bill Crisp. God rest his soul. But he gave me some very telling advice when I came on this council. He said, concentrate on doing your job versus keeping it. And so the decisions you make have to be what's in the best interest of you performing the duties that you raise your hand to swear and attest to do. And I'll continue to be guided by those wise words of Bill Crisp.
You mentioned the importance of stability. Should the council switch to 4-year staggered terms?
Well, I don't want to get into that but here's what I'll say, is that we are over a $300 million operation with 2,000 employees. And we make a lot of decisions for 65 to 70% of the people who live in Cumberland County. To be able to change 10 members all at once every other year does cause some interruption in strategic planning, and it makes it tricky. But particularly when you have 40% of incumbents running for a position, you know you're going to lose a significant part of that board, and it will and can change the direction of it.
So, Ed, what kind of assurances, maybe promise is too strong of a word, had you made even before your June announcement to other candidates or potential candidates about your plans for this year?
Well, I didn't promise anybody anything, and when I made the decision as a family to not run for re-election, before I made the announcement as a courtesy, I called all of my council members to tell them so that they could hear it from me and not hear it in the news. Now, of course, over the course of that, after that announcement was made, I had a number of them who asked me for my support or endorsement, and so I stayed shy of that. I'm on the record several times by saying I wasn't getting into the endorsement. Whoever was chosen would have to do it on their own merits. And so this is a situation where you have to assess the conditions on the ground, and they change from day to day. And like I said, there were a number of factors that are in place now that were not in place in early June.
Was there anybody in particular who's running who you're like, oh, no way, I can't let them in, I got to get back in the race?
That's not my decision to make. And so, at the end of...
You made a decision to get back in the race.
Well...
Anybody in particular you thought, oh my gosh, this person's on the horizon, they should not be in the office, I need to get back in?
Again, like I said, I'm not here to choose the candidate. I'm here to make the best case for me. What I said was that when you have a third open seat in a district that all happened on the last day of filing, that presented a nuance that didn't exist. You had 9 people to file for this seat, other than myself, and so I'm not here to pick and choose candidates, and there's no guarantee that I'll be chosen. I'm just going to make the best case for what we need in this community, and I think that decision would be me. So, I'll take one more and then we'll wrap it up.
So, as you're looking between now and election time, are you concerned that having 40% running for election, running for that seat, stuff might get overlooked?
Overlooked as in, day-to-day city policy and. Well, I don't know that it get overlooked. Anytime you're trying to govern during a political campaign season, I think that it will be a lot more of explanations given. It'll be a lot more council members who are trying to make their positions known on certain things, and so that may slow down some of the policy making process. But we're all professionals. This is not our first race. Those who are incumbents. And we know how we can govern and run for re-election at the same time. All right. Thank y'all.